Good evening, my friends. This is Paul. And just yesterday, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild released the first DLC pack. Now, I already bought the expansion on day one, so I was able to get the Nintendo Switch shirt, but this is the real deal. This is where things actually have a name, and it's called the Master Trials. Now, I don't normally do Snap Judgment reviews on video games, but I have done Snap Judgment reviews on DLC all the time, especially Smash Brothers. And today's going to be no different. I got through most of the stuff that Master Trials has to offer, and I'd just like to share my thoughts on it before we get the second pack of DLC sometime in holiday of 2017. And then the Wii U can, officially rest in peace, so hopefully I can do some kind of anniversary video or something for the Wii U. Anyway, so Master Trials is all about really expecting you to know the layout of Breath of the Wild's world and say, okay, you think you're such a big shot at Breath of the Wild? Let's see you put your skills to the test. And boy, is that an understatement in this game. So I'm going to talk about the biggest thing that Master Trials has to offer, and that's the Trial of the Sword. Basically, you go back to the place where you found the Master Sword. Won't spoil it in case there's anyone that hasn't gotten it yet. And then you're taken to this alternate realm that's kind of similar to a shrine, but also has aspects of other parts of the world. And it's kind of like a shorter version of the Caves of Ordeals or the Pit of 100 Trials from previous Zeldas. You have to defeat all the enemies. However, it's a little bit more fleshed out than those games because they were normally in dank and boring, cave-like settings. You've got lush greenery, trees to climb, lava pits, icy mountains. You've got a lot of variety of settings. And the enemies are no pushovers. You have to really think on your feet and really think strategically, use a lot of resource management to think, should I save that arrow or should I just go for a headshot? Should I attack the enemies head on or should I have a club instead of a sword? There's a lot of strategy here that you don't really see throughout the remainder of the rest of the game because combat's not really a big focus of Breath of the Wild. Most of it's exploration, but in this, they really want you to test your battle skills. Now, I got through the beginning and middle trials, which significantly increased the Master Sword's power, but those final trials, oh my goodness. For one, you can't save. Two, you can't use amiibos, not that I expected that, but still, it's basically you gotta do a perfect run. There's no, health recovery option midway through, so you basically have to rely on resources you've gathered with very minimalistic opportunities to cook and very few things to eat. It's usually just better if you don't get hit at all. One thing I found to kind of cheat a bit is I would fall off a cliff before going, and then that would have Mipha's grace, give me a pair of extra hearts. And then I'd go to the trial, and those extra hearts would carry in. Other than that, everything is taken away from you. So you have to grab minerals, clothing, objects by scratch. Now, it might make a couple of people uncomfortable that Link's running around in his boxers most of the time, but thankfully, most of the latter trials, from the latter half of the middle trials to most of the final trials, have Link at least wearing pants, so you can rest easy on that. But overall, though, it seems like it's more of more Zelda as opposed to something that'll truly advance the game along, because I was able to beat the game just fine without the Master Sword being fully powered, and if it's semi-powered, I think that's good enough. I guess it'll depend on what this new dungeon and new story will be in the next one, but overall, I think the gauntlet is definitely fun. The sense of satisfaction of finally getting through a tough battle, I can't say I've had in a Zelda game since A Link Between Worlds, really. And I really like how Link's weapons and skills evolve over time. You start out with basically nothing and you work your way up to being the master champion. It's a feeling I would encourage all of you to try at least at some point, assuming you're not one of those people that went straight to Calamity Ganon after finishing the Great Plateau. But if that was all that it was, that'd be a pretty lousy DLC expansion. Thankfully, there's more. You get a ton of new costumes. that each costume piece requires you to search through a different set of ruins in Hyrule, and this also tests your geography skills. So just as the Trial of the Sword tested your combat, now you have to know, like, okay, so this hint says I should look for a place where exchange once flourished. And let me warn you right now, if you think you know everything about Hyrule, it really helps to pay attention to the names of the places. And if the name of the place doesn't seem to line up, likely it's because you haven't found it. Because for some odd reason, ruins don't appear on your map until you've actually passed by them. So you'll definitely want to scour your map, make sure that if something looks like a pair of ruins, go to it. The pieces themselves offer subtle little bonuses. You can get Midna's helmet from Twilight Princess, Tingle's outfit, which, as disturbing as it is, it's like Zero Suit Samus in a male's body, but it does give you nighttime speed. Then the Phantom armor, if you get all of that, increases your attack, so it makes you more powerful. And then there's the travel medallion. Well, there's the Korok mask, which makes it easier to find those 900 Korok seeds. Yippee. And then finally, the travel medallion. Now, I didn't get that one yet, but I did get a shrine in the process, so that was cool. Basically, it's beneath the ruins of a labyrinth. Ugh, I explored that labyrinth top to bottom. If you can find it and I can't, kudos to you. But apparently it can let you travel to anywhere you've already been and use that as a fast travel point, in case you haven't found enough shrines. Speaking of which, another new option that's been added is called Hero's Path Mode. Unfortunately, you can only do this while you're actually on the map screen. It doesn't show up on your mini-map, but you can make a green line appear that shows everywhere you've walked step by step for the past 200 hours, and you can even press a button to make the icon like literally go along the path and show every individual place where you died. It's probably the most ideal when you're searching for shrines, but I found it extremely helpful when I was looking for the pieces of armor, because not only were they nice flashbacks to other Zelda games, but it helped if I was like, oh, I haven't been around there, maybe that pair of ruins will help me out. And then the last major addition of this pack is the Master Mode. Now, I haven't actually tested it out yet, because I figured, after what the Trial of the Sword put me through, I think I'm about ready for a break. But from what I've heard, Master Mode makes all the enemies tougher. It makes their health bars regenerate. If you're the cautious types, you basically have to go in guns blazing. Enemies that are weaker will now be the tougher variety, because, it goes red, blue, dark, white. And then also it has some additional platforms where enemies will be hanging on a board that's supported by balloons, as if they couldn't make anything tougher for you. If you don't feel like playing on Master Mode, the enemies in the Cave of Trials, or the Trial of the Sword, whatever it's called, will definitely give you a run for your money. Thankfully, unlike hero modes in most Zelda games, you can choose to play on or off of Master Mode at the title screen instead of making it a full run through of the game. So if you think it's too tough for you, then you can always switch back to your regular file afterwards. And I believe they actually have separate save files for when you are in Master Mode, so that you don't have to lose all your progress if you played on Master Mode too much and you thought that you were oversaving, which I think is a pretty clever addition in hindsight. So that's all we have for now. Hopefully when the next DLC pack comes, we'll get something much more substantial, because I heard they're actually giving us more story, which is what, of course, everyone wants, especially a Catholic like me that wants to see if there are faith undertones in it. As for this one, the only faith undertone I can see is, dang, Nintendo must have really wanted Link's you-know-whats to show with that Tingle costume, and that's not cool. But other than that, I found this pack to be surprisingly addictive. Too much so in some cases. Hopefully I'll be able to work on that. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and until my next video, keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.